Today on Core Conversations, we have Cecile Elias. Cecile is a Pilates coach in the Pittsburg area, and she's all about cheering on those in her community. Our conversation ranged from trusting people to learning how to say no. She shared her secret to getting more men into her classes and also shared some stories of her personal life that helped her find a place of peace and control over her daily schedule. Enjoy the conversation.
Hey, my name is Cecile Elias, and I live in Pittsburg, PA, and I am predominantly a Pilates teacher, classical Pilates, but I also do a little bit of personal training. Okay. And today, my shirt, Pilates Strong, is by Marissa in Motion, and she owns a Pilates studio in Brooklyn that opened just prior to COVID. And it's, this is what she's doing instead right now, or to keep herself afloat right now, is she's creating shirts and, accessories and things like that. And my dog ran away, but he's wearing Pilates right now.
Yes.
I can shout out many other businesses if you like.
Sure.
I've got, how about this? I don't want to cover my face the whole time, but shout out to Russell at Pilates Lineage.
Okay.
And I've yet to read this book, but everybody go and check this out. It's on my list. And of course, my beloved mentor who you've had on, Kathy.
Yes.
Yeah. I could go on and on and on.
I feel like I'm watching like an Oprah show with Oprah's top picks right now.
Sure.
Yes.
So I teach classical Pilates in Pittsburg, PA, and typically my schedule, like in normal times, would be I work for a private club. So it's a city club downtown, and inside the club is a health club, and inside the health club is a Pilates studio. So it's really corporate. Like I wear wind pants and a polo shirt and a name tag and, all that stuff.
Yes.
And then I also have some clients that I see in their homes. And then I tiptoe and I keep my foot in the door at my my Pilates best friend. She's like my soul sister, Aubrey Mock Johnson. Her studio is called Moxie Mind and Body in Pittsburg, PA.
Yes.
And with everything I'm doing online right now, it's kind of an extension of what I felt at Moxie before shutdown. Like I keep a tiptoe in Moxie for the community, because at my corporate club and then working on my own in clients' homes, there's no sense of community. And in the early days of my teaching, like that just was where I thrived. Like that's my Pilates is my home, and the Pilates community is my home. And I don't have the time really in normal times to get to Moxie to teach right now, but it's been great teaching. I'm teaching old clients of mine from there online right now in some groups with them. And it's been great to work with the other teachers there. I feel like I've never lost that community just by sticking my tiptoe in there, but the whole quarantine has now expanded my community, my Pilates family, from Moxie to like worldwide,
Amazing.
And so that's actually been really, one of those silver linings of the pandemic.
Yeah, like I'm loving that. Like I feel like that has been such a blessing. Yes, in that diversified Pilates portfolio, that's exactly what I was going to talk about too, is, having your foot in the big box community and then also in the boutique studio. You said that there really wasn't a sense of community in the big box format, corporate?
Yeah, it's like every man for themselves. There are four Pilates teachers there, and then a fifth girl that's a friend of mine from Moxie, who was a client of mine from two other studios prior to Moxie, who taught my mom, very good friend of mine. She had one class before shutdown. Okay. And then now that we're like kind of open again a little bit, she's in a little bit more. So she's new there. So now that we have 5 teachers, it's kind of always been there, like every man for themselves. Nobody shares clients. There's no like team spirit, and we just like come in, teach our clients and leave. And there's no, and then like some of them we've tried, like with some of us, to have a little more, like I have personal relationships with some of them, especially my friend Jenny Lake. I refer to her as my very first mentor, and she's the one who introduced me to the club, and it's a really great gig. And I'm really blessed to have known her and gotten that opportunity. So she and I would try to have like a little community amongst ourselves, and we'd try to invite the other ladies, and sometimes they could come and sometimes they couldn't. But it just wasn't like, it wasn't like there was a group mission. And Moxie really has like this great you know, the quality of Pilates and the caliber of training and the passion from everybody there is just like
Yes.
where I want to be, you
Gotcha.
know?
Yes. That's and that's key. For those of you who are watching, I'd love to hear in the comment section how you define community. Like I see Joel Crosby's on here, Roxy's on here, Caroline. There's some really cool people that I've met over time here. And Joel Crosby, for example, has like a gym and a Pilates studio kind of in one. And you can see he's really good at cultivating community, much like the guy who owns this gym where my Pilates studio is. So guys, in the comment section, please write down, like, how would you define community? And while they're doing that, I'll just tell you a little bit of a story. I used to work over at Lifetime Athletic. And when they were opening up, the first building that came to Canada, that was the one that I got a job as assistant department head for PT. And I was running my own personal training business before, and I felt like that was good, just doing like 25 hours a week, nothing crazy, and making decent money. But I felt like more important than just getting a job at a big box gym was I felt it was important to establish the right community for our larger community. Like I've lived in this area for almost 30 years, well, almost 40 years now. And I felt like, we get into these big box gyms and it is very cutthroat and dog eat dog. So I wanted that Pilates community to be supportive and to have, so we really made a good point of hiring the right people who were going to educate not only their clients, but the trainers as well, and be supportive and stuff like that, and cultivate the community from the ground up within that space. Because I feel like that within me is an important element to have wherever I go. So it's just interesting that you said that you didn't really feel that within that. I mean, I'm sure it was there to some degree, but like it's
Right.
so much richer in that, in Moxie, as you were mentioning too, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that there. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on that. And Cecile, how you define community.
So how I define community, it's where you belong. It's where you want to belong, or it's where you want you want to bring other people into, like where you can all share and just be there for each other. It's, there's a sense of home.
Yes.
And so like Moxie on my immediate scale, and then prior to that, other studios that I worked for, the Pilates Center of Pittsburgh was the first studio that I really like worked for that I wasn't on my own with. I remember like going through my divorce, that part of the studio like was my sanctuary.
Yes.
And then later on going through like when my grandfather died, Moxie, like I remember between clients at the Duquesne Club. So the Duquesne Club is a 7-minute walk to Moxie. And having a gap between clients at the Duquesne Club, I would run over to Moxie and I would just like need to be in there and work out there, even though I could work out at the Reformer at the club.
Yes.
But I just needed to be in there because my community was in there, and I just needed to like work out quietly. And then like, my friends knew what was going on and they were there, and it was just like felt safe.
Yes.
My little sister went to Russia for a year, and on the day she was flying, I was in class at Moxie with my friend Aubrey was teaching, and I was just crying in class, and it was okay. And then, like, I just felt I was at home.
Yes.
And then when my childhood dog died, I was in class. My friend Susie was teaching, and this was at the Pilates Body. Now it's called Valley Brook Fitness, which is one of my shout outs recently. It was a Friday afternoon, and my mom was in class too. It was a group, I think it was a reformer class or an apparatus class, and we're working out alongside each other. My mom was in the class. Some other ladies were in the class.
Yeah.
And she just tells me, oh, by the way, I had to put Chandler down. And I was like,
what?
In the middle of class, but it felt okay, like to be vulnerable there, because my family, like my extended community was there. So like on the immediate, that's what I crave and want and need. And like, that's just a part of it. And, and then as all of this quarantine is happening, I'm just seeing that with people reaching out all over. Like I find I want to reach out to people's stories that I've never met in person. And I find like, I'll just check in on a message with someone like, hey, I noticed you haven't been posting for a while. Is everything okay? Or just noticing like other people doing the same for me. Like I want to be everyone's cheerleader, and seeing everyone else cheering on me and my friends and other people that need cheering, you know, and
Yes.
seeing people reach out and ask for prayers or positivity, or like people being vulnerable to do that, like within this great big community,
Hmm.
and they're getting it. They're not just like
Yes.
asking it and it's a, you know, quiet space. They're getting it back. And
Yes.
that's been really awesome. And just supporting each other no matter what it is, like people going through business struggles, people going through depression. I suffer from anxiety. I've got friends with other like mental disorders that, you know, this time is something that will bring that all out. And
Yes.
everyone's just being there for each other. In addition to just the other things that you're seeing in the news, like being each other for the different communities that need our help and support right now. It's just been
Right.
really awesome that we're all one big family.
Absolutely. I'll get to these comments in a minute, but I just want to say to you, Cecile, if you look back through some of your posts, I was joking about stalking you as I was reading some of your old posts and
You're
stuff.
catching up.
Yeah, just catching up. I'm catching up.
Hmm.
And but you can see the authenticity to what you're saying there. Like it's not like you're giving a token supporting Black people now, or a token supporting women now, or a token supporting communities now. Like you've been doing this from day one. Like you weren't doing it before it was on Vogue to do it. I can really see that that really is your heart. So I just want to commend you for that. Like I really feel like
Thank you.
that is so sweet. Just in everything you're saying there. That's not lip service to our time, but that's just who you are. So two different things.
Thank you. Yeah, it just feels, I think it's I don't understand how you don't feel for everyone else and what's going on. You know, that part is
Yeah.
confusing to me. And I think also I'm the big like there are 5 kids in my family, and I've
Okay.
got like oldest sister syndrome, you know, so I'm always like looking out for,
You're the
I'm
oldest
always
sibling?
yeah, so I feel
Yes.
like I don't have any kids, and Pilates, like this is my child, like what I'm doing right now. It's
Yes.
my dog, and then this. Those are
Yes.
my children.
Okay, let's see JC's comments here. So, community is sharing, mutual respect, sharing the passion for what you do, and also to have a community there needs security. Yeah, there's so many things in there, right? Like mutual respect, sharing mutual respect, like you're saying, we're sharing, not only just sharing our physical space, but sharing our knowledge, sharing what we've experienced, and that mutual respect and sharing our passion for what we do. And I feel, in the spaces I've worked, and even in the space now too, that passion for what we do is something that really gives me energy when I see people are learning and trying new exercises and taking online courses, and as soon as they learn it, like they barely held on to it for 5 minutes before they want to share it with me, right? There's a
Hmm.
sense of exchange of information and wisdom and learning that helps our community to just get better, because we're not trying to like have that one up on someone. Like I'm trying to hold on to something so that I always have that one up. I know more than you. Like there's a free
Right.
flow of knowledge, right?
Yeah. I think that's been really awesome because I've always been super excited to share with other teachers from like the beginning. And I remember my first experience. So my very first training, so I'm a classical teacher now, but my very first training, I was just like a personal trainer, and I was 18 or 19, and I was managing.
Not just a
Um,
personal trainer.
all right. Okay, I was a personal trainer.
Thank you.
My bachelor's degree is fitness and wellness, so I come from that background.
Yeah.
But I was in college. I was 18 or 19, and I was assistant manager of a Curves.
Okay.
Remember the women's gym? And we just got like a flyer for some continuing ed conference, and in it were, oh well, what do I do next? Do I do kickboxing? Do I do, Pilates? Do I do yoga? And I picked Pilates. There's a 3-day Pilates seminar as part of this conference with Chris Crory. He's a STOT teacher trainer, and he's in Connecticut, I believe. And the reason I chose it was because I was as young as I was in college, and it was on sale.
Yeah.
And so, so I went with it. And then he was just, his passion for it and his excitement and enthusiasm for sharing and giving to us. Like, I just idolized him. And I just wanted,
Yes.
he pumped me. Like, I was so inspired, and I just wanted to share that with everybody
Mhm.
ever in the world. And then I found that, like, as I continued through my training, like anytime there was someone going through their training, I was like, hey, you want to practice together? You know, like, do you want to practice together? Do you want to like play together? And I would just
Yes.
like, I just gave it all away, you know, like,
Yeah,
because I was
absolutely.
just so excited about it. And I'm seeing a lot more of that. Luckily, like in the beginning in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there wasn't a ton, not luckily, it's like a give and a take,
Hmm.
pros and cons of, there weren't a lot of like classical choices in Pittsburgh, and there wasn't a lot of Pilates in Pittsburgh in general when I went through. This was
Yes.
2004 was my first training, and you know, to go to New York and take time off of college and spend the money and like live there for a year just was not on my radar at that point,
Right.
at that time. So I missed out on being able to train with like Ramana or going to Dragos or anything like that.
Hmm.
But in a way, you know, hearing the other teachers' stories about like, it's almost like it was like you get a secret, you know?
Yes.
And
Right.
I wasn't exposed to that, like, oh, you've got to, you keep this to yourself, you know, like
Yes. Yes.
it right off the bat, like I said, my friend Jenny, I got into classical Pilates because she was teaching at a health club that I was teaching for, and she was going through Michelle Larson's program
Hmm.
and just like super excited and sharing about classical Pilates. And she would do like little mini workshops for the
Yes.
teachers at the club. And
Right.
I started being a body for some apprentice teachers. And that's how I, you know, just got more, oh, what is this classical Pilates? I have
Right.
to know.
Yes.
And it was because she shared with me. And, you know, I can't, so I just didn't have that experience where people were trying to,
Keep it a secret.
it never occurred to me that we should. And
Yeah, that bothers me a bit. Like that sense of like
yeah.
it being like a secret. Like
Hmm.
it's we should, you know, freely we've received it. So like in a sense of
Yeah.
like, let's, as soon as we get it, just give it back, you know, and let people have it. And like you're just saying, I wrote down the word sale. Like you said, it was on sale. That's why you did it. There's a sense of it being like it's not as accessible as I'd like Pilates to be.
Right. Which, by the way, that the conference that happened over this weekend,
Yes.
um, you know, that is so cool. Like there were scholarships and, you know, things like that. And there just needs to be more of that. And you know, I remember seeing a long time ago, like after I went through my classical training was originally with Power Pilates, and I remember seeing things like foster a future professional so
Yes.
that teachers could go and live in New York and not have to worry about like rent, you know, when they're
Right.
training, because they're not doing, and it would just be, you know, cool to know, like if anyone out there right now watching knows of any programs like that, could you please share them like here and on your pages, and you know, just let us know and share, because I think that that is a limiting factor. I think a lot of people, you know, want to go deeper in their training. So maybe they're already trained or they just want to go
Mhm.
deeper. And then a lot of people maybe are just afraid to bite the bullet because it's like going back to college. It's an expense and you can't
Right.
get a student loan.
Right.
There are no grants.
Yes.
It's rough.
Absolutely. Yeah. And well, you know, and sorry, just I'm highlighting Joel Crosby here again. Like he has like he just said, definitely make Pilates accessible and share. Well said. We there's people that have teacher training programs within their studio.
Hmm.
And now I have like my little small 200 square foot studio slash, you know, broadcast center space here. And but I don't want to have like a big apprenticeship program and elaborate things because a lot of people are already doing that. But now, how can I make this space accessible for people that want to study and do it somewhere else, and they can come in here and do their hours teaching and have me as a body, or get, you know,
Ooh.
teach a class with me, or, you know, like have someone come and watch it on the TV, you know, so someone's teaching class, and then we can give feedback and like make it accessible for the person who can't fly out to wherever a teacher training is. Like what we were saying here philosophically around community and sharing and not keeping this work a secret and making it accessible. I feel like it's my responsibility to craft this space to be it.
Hmm.
And for yourself with your business and how fluid it is to create community. Like how do you actually create community wherever you go instead of going to the community? How do you create the community wherever you go?
Well, I've always been pretty open with other teachers. So one thing that we do at Moxie is that Aubrey and I, being the more like senior level teachers there, having the most experience, and she's gone through a few additional programs, and I've gone through additional programs. We offer to our teachers in-house once a month, they get a free mentor hour that they can schedule whenever. And it's also like an open door policy that anyone is allowed to observe whenever. And at Moxie, we've had teachers from outside of Moxie doing other programs, because they're a Power Pilates is Moxie's a host center for Power Pilates. Yes. But we've had people from other trainings come and just observe and come to class and come to mentor hours. And, you know, for some of the teachers would want to maybe like, you know, if they were all got 1 hour a month, some of them would like, oh, let's piggyback and have like a 3-day workshop on a Sunday, you know, like something like that. So we would do that. And something that I offer, offer to other teachers that want to get on my schedule, I give them a little discount. And I also am open to them observing me even now, like through Zoom. I have some clients that are okay with that because they were used to that in the studio. Yes. And I'm also okay to offer like people that if they're in my schedule and I know them and I know that they want to, you know, work, I will do mentor hours with them as well. And it's like, I need to get paid like something, but I try to keep it like really accessible, you know,
right, exactly.
So that it's something that they can do. But like the observation is like whenever. I also have the group classes that I do. If you get into my circle of like people that are regularly coming, every now and then I do a by invitation only, like free workout, like a couple times a month.
Cool.
And you are welcome to just observe, you know, if you don't have the apparatus and it's on apparatus, and you're welcome to play along and you're welcome to share. So I try to offer stuff like that. And then I also, with some of the teachers that I'm teaching, I'm always happy to, I'll do like, with one girl, I do like a coffee talk where let's meet for a buddy workout, you know, and we'll work out for like 45 minutes. And then we'll just like sit and chat like this for like 45 minutes after. And she can pick my brain about, you know, what my trainings were and like, you know, recommendations and maybe talk out issues that she's maybe having with a client, or I can give her like, you know, experiences of mine, stuff like that. And I'm also open, like I'll have teachers just call me and be like, hey, I've got this going on. Yeah. And I like sharing. It's the big sister in me. And it's like the way that I was treated when I was new, you know, I could call Jenny anytime. Like, and Leslie Davenport at the Pilates Center Pittsburgh was also really open with me in the beginning. Especially as I was transitioning into classical, having these mentors when I was just sort of, you know, after the 3-day Stott Mat conference, you know, I just kind of hodgepodge, like I did like a weekend reformer and a weekend tower, you know what I mean? I didn't know where to go, and I was just like hodgepodge fitting it all together. And just so
on your quest for learning.
Exactly. And trying to keep it local and cheap because I was a youngster and I didn't realize the value, you know, of doing that, you know, and now I do. And, you know, I wish that, in some ways, I wish that I could have gone and done the whole New York experience for it. And I did do my level 1 Power Pilates in New York. So I felt like I got the mothership. And then I did my 2 and 3 in Annapolis, and they were just wonderful. Remote. Yeah. And then afterward, I had some really awesome experiences to just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper with the classical, with me, Joe Wiggins' program, and Claire Dunphy has a program, and most recently Kathy's program. And so it's, you know, we're never done learning, and we're always going to ask like someone else, like, you know, my mentors are still working with mentors and collaborating and all the time.
Right. Exactly. And that's really what it's about, right? Like, I mean, if you stop and think about, we are technically that next generation that's going to be doing that. So if you have a mindset of making it accessible and just piecing it together for the person who can't do a comprehensive, you know, 10-month sign out of life program, then then we're finding ways to make it possible for more people to do it. So I have a question for you then. And this is the question I've been asked a lot. Yes, brace yourself. It's not gonna be that bad. Well, maybe it will be. How do we get more men into Pilates?
Oh, well, that's kind of the majority of my clientele are men. So in my situation, the reason why I have so many men is the Duquesne Club is women weren't allowed until like the 80s at some point,
Okay.
maybe the late 80s. So there just aren't a lot of women members there
Yes.
to begin with. And what I notice with the men that I have is, and this is a generalization, and I don't want to make stereotypes.
I won't cry. You're not gonna offend me.
Men in their 30s, I have one really great guy in his 30s who takes it and he just kills it and loves it and he's really passionate about it. But whenever men in their 30s try it, it is, they're frustrated because they don't succeed. Like they don't like kick ass at it, if I'm allowed to say that on here. And they, their ego gets in the way. And if they can't do it well, and maybe it's part of because like they can't do it well in front of a girl who's 5 foot tall, like that's it, it like ruffles their ego a little bit. And it's like, just be where you are, like try, but be where you are. But they get like frustrated with themselves. And if they can't like be perfect at it, like the first time, then they can't do it, like they don't stick with it. And then like the men that are a little bit more like 40s and 50s, so like those younger guys, they just quit. The 40s and 50s, they throw mini tantrums.
Okay.
Like, because they're like trying, they understand it, they want to get it, they can't do it, and like, and it's like, and so they throw like, they'll like swear at themselves, they're like,
talk to themselves in the third person.
Yeah, exactly. And then,
John, come on, get it.
Exactly. Come on, Smith, they'll swear that, all that stuff. But then they do it again and then, whatever. And then the guys in their like 60s and 70s and beyond, they're whatever. Like they've accepted it and they care enough. They're going to keep trying. They might not hear you at all about what you're saying and trying to do. And sometimes when they do, they're trying, it doesn't look that great, but you know what, they're there and they're just going to do it. And it makes them feel better. And they appreciate it. And they don't really care if they do it right. Like,
that's like sad. It's almost like they have no dignity left. So
like they're over it. I mean,
right.
Some of them do really well, but they're like over it. So they're actually like the easiest
best performers too,
to
right?
work with. Exactly. Because they're like there's no pressure. Yes. For them to, they're just doing what they think I'm saying. And that's wonderful. And they're getting benefits. They're getting benefits and they're moving through it. And so like that's what happens. And then it's, as far as like younger than that, right now I have a 13-year-old. And then there's like this jump until the 35-year-old. But I have taught younger athletes, like hockey players, like a team. And it was just like any other training. Like it was just part of their training. Like they showed up, they did it. They might not be 100% present, but I don't think they were with their coach either, so like just because of their age group, but it was just like part of training. Like they just show up and do it. To get more men, my strategy has been like, they just kind of come into me at the Duquesne Club. But if a friend of mine is like, oh, my husband, my son, my brother, etc., my tool has always been, and now you've exposed me to more of these guys. Chris Robinson, just send them a video and then they're like, oh, well then I'll do Pilates, because he was not a dancer, he comes from an athletic background.
Right.
He looks like an athlete and he's just like clear and simple. There's no fuss, there's no sing song, there's no like choreography, like it doesn't look like feminine to them. And they might think that, like the perception is that it's for dancers, even though in the beginning, like if you read the first biography that came out a few years ago and you just talk to people, Joseph didn't originally think that this was a woman's sport. Like this was developed by men for men. And he started taking on all these female dancers because, well, they were paying the rent. And you might as well, okay, fine. And then he loved them, and it grew. But it was originally for men by a man. And not just that, for like specifically male athletes. Like
Right.
the foot corrector was the
Boxers
first,
and
yes,
gymnasts and
the foot
yes.
corrector was the first piece that he patented, and it was because of like the injury, like you're on your feet when you're in the boxing ring, you know, and
Mm.
so that's really interesting. And then if you look at the first reformers, they were metal, like weights and pulleys, and they were vertical. And so
Yes.
you and I know, working in the gym, it was called the universal reformer. So
Mhm.
my thought has always been like, if you look at the dates of when the universal in the gym came out, and
Yes.
when Joe's Pilates
Yeah.
universal reformer came out, which kind of looks like a cable machine in the gym,
Right.
like it's like, well, who thought of this first, you know? And there
Mm.
were other people like in the fitness arena that, like, you know, they all crossed paths. They were all in New York.
Of course.
And so you know, I just tell them like, you know, the first reformer was weights and cables. Like, aren't you doing that out there? You know, like this is
Right.
it was developed by a man for a man, and it just evolved, you know. Um,
Good
so
stuff,
I
man.
just Chris Robinson is my go-to for how do we get more men to do Pilates. But then also they just have to try it. Like my husband's friends, like they try it and they're like, whoa, you know, and
Right.
it's just you know, they just have to try it. But if they're
That's true.
afraid to try it, I show them Chris Robinson. But now that you've been interviewing all these real men that do Pilates, I have more people to expose them to. So
So
thanks.
glad to hear. You're welcome. That's exactly the point of doing this, is to highlight amazing people like yourself. So here we are. And I had to write that down because you said earlier about like your 30-year-olds doing this and like your older guys doing that. I have two people that I think of right away. One is my 7-year-old guy who just trains like a beast,
Hmm.
and you know he went back to judo. He's a black belt in judo, hasn't been like on the mat in forever. Went back to judo at 70. Went
Oh,
back to judo at 70, which is awesome. And
yeah.
then by contrast, I have a guy who now has seen me back in the studio walking by, says, okay, I'm just going to train for a few more weeks and then I'm going to come to you. Like he's training
To
to come
train.
back to
Yeah.
Pilates because he knows it's going to crush him if he just walks in, because there's that ego, right? He doesn't want to be
Hmm.
embarrassed. He wants to feel like he's ready for it. Whereas the old guy could care less, right?
Yeah.
So it's
He's
so
over
funny.
it.
Just yeah, the mindset is so different. It really
Hmm.
is different. The one guy's like, okay, when I'm ready, I'll come back to Pilates. I'm gonna train for Pilates. And the other guy's like, this is what I do. Like this is getting me back to the things that I really want to do, which is judo, which is running after my grandkids, which is whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's there.
That's awesome.
Hmm. One of the things that we're talking about, just as we were going back and forth in dialogue, was burnout.
Oh, yeah. You want to hear about
Yes.
burnout?
Let's talk
Okay.
about burnout in this Pilates world. Because you just mentioned so many good things that you're doing. How do we find balance so that we don't end up in burnout world?
You just have to take care, like, you have to prioritize yourself. If you cannot take care of yourself, you cannot take care of your family, your friends, and your clients who are part of that. Um, a big part of that is knowing your what your limit is, like when to say no, that it's okay to say no,
Mhm.
and just kind of creating boundaries for yourself.
Okay, can we pause there
So,
for a quick second?
sure,
Everyone says that, but how
everyone
do
says
we
that.
actually
Yeah.
say no to
Okay.
stuff? Like, let's unpack that because everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, take care of yourself, check. But then when it comes down to it, like, how do we do that?
All right. So, I have previously found myself like I go up and then I go down and then I go up
Mhm.
and then I go down. So, like, I'll go up because it's like, yeah, I can handle more. Yeah, I can handle more. And then I find myself, you know, a few years ago, I would call this like my peak burnout was I was teaching Monday through Thursday, 12 hours of clientele
Mm,
and doing like a drive from place A to place B to sometimes place C, you know, like back and forth all day. So that day of 12 hours of clients would start like I would leave my house at like 5 a.m. and get
right.
home at like 8 p.m. And so like where does that leave time for me, for my husband, for my dog? And then on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, I was still teaching just like less hours, but it's like
Mhm.
what can you possibly fit in that, you know?
Yes.
Um, I hated when someone would have a baby shower. I'm like, you can't have a baby shower because I'll be coming from Pilates and it's going to be like big rigmarole, that just like, I just couldn't enjoy that because,
Yes.
it was like flustered and rushing and like getting
Rushing.
there and like,
Yes.
oh, I'm here, it's over. Okay, bye.
Right. Yes.
And so like you work your way up, and it's because you just feel bad. Like you've got these clients that you love and you love working with, and to an extent there's maybe like no one else that they can work with, or no one else that they want to work with.
You feel obligated to help them,
to accommodate everybody.
Everybody.
And one thing that I used to do a lot of were semi-privates. And so one issue that I ran into was like, I'm fitting 3 or 4 people in a semi-private. And then as I started to leave these studios in the suburbs where I was teaching like these mostly semi-privates, like that made my clientele like enormous. And then I'm cutting down and cutting down and cutting down there because I was doing more at the private club that I work for. And so my hours elsewhere were limited, but all these people still want to work with me. So it's like, where do I put them? And like, one thing that's been helpful for me, and this goes to, so like, how do I say no? Well, one thing that has been, I'll tell you about like the personal, like the stuff that was going on inside me in a moment, but like the logistics of how did I, spread out my clientele amongst other people. So because I was always sharing with other teachers, and I always had a group of teachers around that were like aspiring and trying to build their schedule, and I trusted them because I worked with them, I always had someone that, again, I trusted, that I was happy to help grow their clientele by giving them some of my clients. And
amazing. Yeah.
So, and my clients really trusted me that I wasn't going to just like leave them with someone that had like, a weekend training or, like something like that.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of like, when it gets to be too much, then I have to ask people like, would you be okay? Like some people, if you're taking 4 privates a week, can I ask you to do like 2 privates a week and then 2 semi-privates so that other people can fit in,
yes.
Can you do that? And what's nice about that is I feel like the private is where they learn. The semi-private or the group opportunity is where they can practice what they learn,
Yes.
and I do see people that progress faster when they're doing a combination versus all privates or all groups, because like in the groups, they don't learn their individual nuances.
Yes.
And then in the privates, there's not like as much taking responsibility for themselves.
Right.
So that's one strategy I've used. The other strategy is if you're sharing, then you have people that can help you out with your load.
Yes.
So those are like the 2 big things. So for instance, right now, I'm getting to that like critical mass point again. And this time getting into the critical mass point, I'm in a better headspace because the last time, I think it was maybe like 2018 was like critical mass of like that 12 hours of clients plus all the commuting. And then on top of that, I'm trying to be like, I cook every meal for my husband. I keep the house clean. Like I want to see my family. I love my dog. I spoil him. Like, what can I do for that? I have no social life because there's no time for that. But then I'm also getting all of my workouts in. And then I'm trying on top of all that to do these like self-care things. Like I was going to like go into the sauna. Bye. I'm doing all these things, like trying to keep myself in balance.
Yeah,
like
self-care still.
Yeah, like if I
yeah.
get a massage, but then in the massage I'm just like
right.
So I was way overextended, and I come from a background of I had anxiety diagnosed in 4th grade, and it'll come up, and it's shown like in high school there was a flare, and then in like 2018 there was another flare. It's shown in the form of like when I just lose control, like eating disorder and body dysmorphia and stuff like that comes up. Like that's one way that it's shown. And so I actually in 2018 like got help again. So like in when I was younger, I was seeing a therapist, and then 2018 I went to, my husband is 13 and a half years clean from heroin, and so he goes to NA, and he won't care. I know it's Narcotics Anonymous, but he won't care that I say that because he's of the mind that people should know about it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he was like, maybe you ought to go to Overeaters Anonymous. And even though like my problem wasn't like overeating, it's the same issue, and they treat you the same way as like someone with an addiction. And like I found out in I did like a year of this, like heavy duty. I found out that it's not that I'm like I don't feel that I'm someone that regularly has like an eating disorder. I have anxiety, and what I regularly have is fear of being out of control. Right. And
Yes.
so like that was something I had to learn, to just let go of things.
Yes.
So I needed help to do that. And then I did cut back on the hours, and I had learned how to let go of it, so that, yes, I'm going to find somewhere for this client to go. They're not going to be without their Pilates. It's going to be someone I trust. I'm not just going to leave them high and dry. But you know what? It's up to them if they decide that they don't want to work with this person. Like, this part of it is like, well, if some of them only want to work with me, and then they're not going to do Pilates if they can't work with me. And I just had to, like, you know what? That's on them. I just have to let it go. It's not my problem. And that program really helped me. I learned a lot of tools that I can put in my daily life. And now I'm teaching on my busier days. I have like 2 days that are like 10 hours a day and some commuting. And then the rest are like around 8. And then Saturday is like what I have, like 4 or 5. And then Sunday is like, if I feel like it, I'll teach.
Yes.
And that keeps me really balanced. And I just have those tools, and I've been like really calm, and like, I know how to deal with it, and I know how to like see it before it happens.
Yes.
Because I got some assistance and I got some help. And so I think there's no shame. Like, I don't mind sharing that about me, because there's no shame in getting help. If you need a therapist, if you need a support group, whatever it is. And so I had to learn how to let go. And that's how I was able to plan ahead for like, oh no, there's impending burnout. Like, I was seeing that a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And I needed to start to make the change. So I've started, like, in the last few weeks, like sharing with some other teachers that are looking to build their clientele. A friend who's coming back from quarantine, who was like not savvy on the whole Zoom thing. Like, she's grateful to have the hours because she hasn't been working, and unemployment is about to run out. And so she's like happy to take them, and I trust her, and my clients, trust me that I'm going to set them up with somebody great. And I have another friend, my friend from Moxie, who just started working there, who is looking to build her clientele there. And so I'm very happy to like pass off some clients that I just can't accommodate everybody right now. And it's a funny position because when everything closed, not everybody at the corporate club went online. But now so like my old Moxie clients came back into my schedule. Some of those clients went online. I still had my, and then I'm available. So now this teacher network that I have, I started teaching people from different states that I wouldn't normally see in person. And so my schedule is full, and now I have to go back in person to teach those club clients on top of my already full schedule. So that's just not working. So that these other two girls are like in the right position where they want to grow their clientele at this club. And I trust them, and I love them, and I'm very happy to, and I, share clientele with them. And I know they're going to get an awesome session from either one of these ladies.
So, it's amazing if I was to just do a word count on the number of times you said trust in the last 50 minutes. That is the foundation of a lot of what you're saying, is that if we're cultivating trust with our colleagues and with our clients, then you recognize the root of your anxiety, the root of the feeling out of control, but you already have this foundation of trust with people that your clients can trust that you're going to hand them off to someone who's going to at least keep them moving forward, if not allow them to flourish, right?
Right.
And then you have trust with your colleagues that they're like, you're not just giving them some bum client who's not going to renew, and then they're going to starve anyway. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's all these different pieces that all come back to laying a foundation of trust within this community. And that's amazing. I think that's the core takeaway of like, how do you say no to anything? It's like, well, trust the systems that you put in place. Like, lay those foundations, and then it's like the world's not going to crumble if you say no to something.
Right. Another thing, like with all that trust, is like you build the relationship, not just with your teaching community, but your clients. When I'm finding any time that I have found, and right now especially, you know, I'm approaching the burnout. I know I need to like cut back. When I spoke to the clients that I'm going to be, you know, passing off to my friends, they were all like, I'm going to miss you. It's been wonderful working with you, but I totally understand. And you need to think of your health first. Like they care about your clients. If you care about them, they care about you. And if, you know, they want the best for you as well. And they'll, you know, then you can just meet them for lunch sometime.
Yeah, exactly. You can still have they're still your friend. They just don't fit in your schedule right now. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any takeaways for us in our last 8 minutes? You've said so many rich things today. Such good stuff.
You know, just support each other. If there, you know, there's been a wonderful offering of these amazing teachers. You know, I got to take from some teachers that I've always wanted to, but like physically getting there was just not possible. Like Elaine at Rhinebeck Pilates. Like I just had so much on my plate the last few years. There was no way I could get to Pilates at the Pillow. And I've been working with her like once or twice a week. So not only support, like, you know, we have the opportunity to work with all these like big names, and they're fantastic and they're awesome. But also like check out like our peers that are teaching class. So like, I love that you've always said in every episode, hey guys, if you have a class tonight or tomorrow, put it in the comments. Hey everyone, follow the people that are listening in today. You know, let's all be part of the community. So I think it's also really cool to take lessons. Like if I have a gap and I can take a private lesson with one of my peers rather than one of my mentors, I will do it. You know, and support them, and they have great eyes, and they're also learning from all these amazing teachers that maybe I'm not able to work with. So I'm catching their nuances and their things, and jumping into their classes. And I think you can get an amazing experience, maybe an inspiration and an eye-opening experience from anybody in this community. And even if they're not quite your genre, you know, like I've taken some classes that are a little more like dance oriented, and then I've taken, you know, the classical Pilates, and you know, even other disciplines. So like I do enjoy yoga, and I've been taking some more gyrokinesis because it's not offered in any of the studios that I'm in physically, but now I can take it online, you know, and it's just been really awesome to do that. And I encourage all of you to support each other and check out a friend's class.
Yes. Well said. Well, I'm looking forward to doing a workout with you one day.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. We could use each other to, as R&D, as you were saying earlier.
Yeah. Our research.
Yes, exactly. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank
you.
you.
Good chatting with you. It's been super fun.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Core Conversations. This organic platform has been made possible by amazing people like yourself. So if you're a Pilates instructor or a movement specialist of some kind and you want to be a guest, please message me. If you're in some other field and you know the messages just resonate with you, message me. I'd love to have you on. All of our messages connect, and for some reason they all help us in this battle. We're all in this game together, so I'd love to hear from you. Let your words be life to someone else. Check out our website, personalvictory.ca. Click the Core Conversations page to see who our upcoming guests are, and I will see you next time on Core Conversations.